So my name is McKenzie. I have a full name, but I'm kind of feeling these days that I just want to, start using my first name as the name in and of itself. McKenzie is such a point of pride for me. There are not many McKenzies out there. Definitely not many that are my age, and I have never met another McKenzie. So I feel like I have just, developed this entire world around McKenzie, and I am one of those people that really loves my name, and I'm so proud of what I've done with it and what I'm doing with my life currently. So I'm 27. A lot of people don't believe that because of kind of this old soul that I have, and having such a mature mentality about myself and about my life, but still being so free and like bubbly and open at the same time. I think that's something that doesn't really come along with a lot of people in my generation. So it's hard for people to kind of guess like how old I am or where I'm from. Honestly, I think I'm kind of magical, like a little bit like out of this world. Like, once I really start to talk about my life and all of my talents and all the things that I've done by this age or that I've done even before, people are just like, I don't get how you could do all those things and how you could still be so, kind and thoughtful and sweet at the same time. So my name is McKenzie. I was born on 16th Street and First Avenue at Beth Israel Hospital, and I'm the youngest of 3 children. My dad is African American, Cherokee, and Scottish, and my mom is Austrian, Hungarian, and Russian and Jewish. So I'm a huge mix, which is, again, when you look at me, I'm not one of those people that is meant to be understood. I'm just meant to be enjoyed and cherished, and someone that you can just really be thankful that you have in your life. But do people understand me? I don't think so. It's a lot to understand. Much like my background and my race, my personality is also incredibly vast and eclectic and 2 totally different sides. So I'm the youngest of 3. I have an older sister who is 29 and my brother's 30. So we're all like back to back to back. And I'm super close with my family. Everyone still lives here in Manhattan. One common misconception is that if you grew up in Manhattan, you're, born into wealth and, you're rich. And it's not really the case. I grew up in a working class family. My family's very aspirational, but incredibly hardworking. My parents worked so hard while we were growing up, and we didn't grow up with much, but we, were working middle class, and I was always kind of feeling like I was on like the periphery. Like I could see how other people lived. I saw, being in New York, like I saw the beautiful buildings, I saw fancy cars, and all the beautiful restaurants, but I was never really a part of that, and I always wanted to be a part of it. So I think my story is really always about wanting more. I want the most. I want the absolute most out of myself. I want the most out of my career. I want the most out of my physicality, my ability to perform and dance and play sports. I want the most out of the person I one day marry. I want the most out of our life. So my story of wanting more comes from the fact that I never really had much when I was growing up. What we did have, though, was the example of hard work and dedication and determination from our parents. So my parents met in law school in the 80s, and my dad, being an African-American guy from Detroit, that's a pretty big accomplishment. He grew up, he was born in 1955, so he grew up throughout the 60s, Detroit riots, the white flight from inner city Detroit. Grew up, he got into an incredible school called Cranbrook, but he couldn't go because he lived too far away. And so I see a lot of myself and my wanting more from knowing that, my dad didn't have much. And my dad worked his way up. I went to Cass Tech, which is one of the top schools in Detroit, went on to Syracuse, and then went on to UC Hastings Law School. So that in and of itself is the type of hard work that I've always, really looked up to. He met my mom. They got married in 1988 at the Water Club, which is in what we now call Long Island City. But whenever they would tell the story, they're like, oh, we got married on the water in Queens. I'm like, where? I'm like, what part of Queens? Oh, right on the water. eventually last summer I was doing an event in now what we've coined Long Island City, and I look over and it's like the Queens like water club. I'm like, oh shit. I'm like, so that's where they got married. So it just goes to show how much has changed in New York and even these last, wow, 31 years. But my parents literally hustled because they wanted to give me and my siblings a much better life and a greater opportunity. So we went to public school in New York, and then my dad really wanted to get us into private school, and not easy, really, really not easy. We went to essentially the best private school in New York, which is called Horace Mann, and that took me out of the periphery and put me in the center of really seeing what kind of life I wanted, and getting that firsthand look at the type of success that other families had achieved just lit a fire underneath me. It was no longer the kind of dreams that most people could attain. My dreams shifted into something much bigger and wanting to be the absolute best at everything that I've done. With that said, I was training for the Olympics as a gymnast at the time. I spent 15 years training. I also danced as a classical ballerina. I played basketball, ran track, soccer, tennis, swimming. I now also play golf. And on top of that, I went to the most challenging private school in New York. So I did all those things at once, which explains why I'm able to juggle everything now today. And I'm able to basically like launch myself into whatever I've ever wanted to do. So I'm one of those people, if I want to do something, I go and do it. I started dancing, actually I need to rewind it all the way back. I started swimming when I was 2 years old. I went to Pee Wee swimming camp in Connecticut. And I don't know if it's normal for 2-year-olds to swim, but I was ready. I was like underwater, swimming around, being a little fishy. And I loved the feeling of, splashing and being free and being able to kind of elongate my limbs, and just having that sense of physical freedom has always resonated and been so important to me. So that traces back to the time when I was 2. And I remember the first time I ever swam underwater. I can see it literally in my mind's eye. I had on this pink floral bathing suit, and the swimming instructors, we were in the ocean actually, of all things, and the swimming instructors were all close by, and I just kind of went underwater and I just kind of flopped around. I remember having that feeling of like, oh God, I love this. I could really, really get used to just having this physical sense of freedom. And I was always a very kind of like flexible little kid. So if I needed to get something off of like the top of the kitchen counter, like one limb would go up and then the other would go up, and I would just climb up there, like very, very monkey-esque. But I had a great sense of physicality since I was a baby, essentially. So when I was 4, my parents sent me to Chelsea Piers for summer sports camp. And, like most little girls, you want to do gymnastics. And I was doing gymnastics one day, and my coach, Veronica, who I'm still very close with, said, "You're an incredible gymnast. Like, you have the flexibility, you have the strength, you have the body, you have the drive, you have the look. Like, I want to bring you to meet Wendy Hilliard." And Wendy Hilliard, for anyone who's not familiar, is one of the best gymnasts in U.S. history. She's also the first African-American female gymnast to perform on the national team and win a gold medal. So she is just incredible. And this is like in the 70s and 80s when we're talking about a different world. So she brought me to see Wendy, and Wendy said, "You're going to be a star." And I said, "Great. How do we make me a star?" And I started training as a rhythmic gymnast at the age of 4, and not training to just be a gymnast, training to be an Olympian, which really there's a big difference, because when you see the end goal and you see the big picture, it changes and translates from something that's just I'm doing this to I'm going to be the best at this. So from the time I was 4, I trained as a rhythmic gymnast with Wendy Hilliard, and a few years later, when I was 7, I was at a competition up in Harlem at the Armory on 168th, and I was putting on like my little toe shoes and like smiling, and I have these really large dimples, which you can see when you get like a full smile out of me. I was putting on my little half shoes, and this photographer was there taking some photos of gymnasts and the event, and just capturing some images. I can't remember if I knew who she was at the time, but I knew when she was photographing me, I was smiling as big as I could. Just like, I had that sense of, if there's a photo being taken, I want to look my very best, or at least give my biggest little crocodile smile. And one thing about my smile is I have an extra tooth in the front, so it's really quite bigger. On the bottom, I have a 5th tooth where most people have 4 in the front. So this is all just to say I was a really cute fucking kid. And if you saw me, I was this tiny, I'm small now, but I was just this little like fun-sized gymnast with big eyes, a big smile, and long dark hair and extra teeth. So I see this photographer taking a photo, and I think, cool, that's awesome. That was on a Saturday. On Monday night, we're having dinner at home, and we get a call, and the call is from Jane Feldman of Random House Publishers, and she's talking to my mom, and she says, I'm working on a book series. The series is called Young Dreamers, and I'm featuring athletes who perform in different sports who have big dreams of being something incredible, and I want to write it on your daughter. So at age 7, I began working on my first 2 book deals. And if you can take these sort of young 4-year-old McKenzie who's already thinking of being an Olympian, and then mend it with a 7-year-old McKenzie who's now signing to book deals to Random House, this alters my entire vision for my life completely. Because I now see that it's not just a pipe dream, it's not just an idea of I can be the best, it's I'm going to be the best, and there are other people that believe in me and who are willing to put me on a large scale, and who are willing to put me at the forefront of whatever it is I'm doing, which at that time was gymnastics. So I started working on this incredible book, and I spend a lot of time in front of the camera, going to different studios, and this is all very exciting, being a young girl and getting to put on different outfits and be photographed by an incredible photographer. And simultaneously, while this is happening, my coach is on the board to bring the Olympics to New York in 2012. So this is 1999 and going into 2000, and we're already working on getting the Olympics to New York in 2012. So while I'm shooting this book, my coach is working on getting the Olympics here, and I start to do all of this on-camera press for all the major networks. So CBS, NBC, WB11 at the time, Fox 5 News, PBS, BET. I mean, at age 7, I've now been in 2 books, and I've now been on every major network, interviewing with their biggest anchors, Katie Couric, the weatherman from Good Morning America, Al Roker, Matt Lauer at the time when he still had hair and other things hadn't, I don't know. Moving on. This was so exciting. I met Josh Hartnett in an elevator when we were performing at Fox 5. So it's like this incredible exposure as a young girl to see my dreams taking place. So I trained, I kept getting better. I became an incredible gymnast. Rhythmic gymnastics is different in the sense that you use apparatus, it's about contortion, it's about grace, it's more of a routine, more rhythmic dance routine mixed with a lot of tricks, whereas artistics is like flips and the balance beam and the bars. So by the age of, let's see, we're in 2000 now. By the age of 2000, I go off to my first Junior Olympics in Seattle. Now this is pretty cool. I mean, I'm 8 years old going to the Junior Olympics. I win the silver medal. Now it's something to be incredibly proud of, and I have all my medals. I still have that medal, of course, but it's probably one of the biggest moments because I never ever wanted to win a silver medal again. I only wanted to win the gold. So having that early, not letdown, but not getting the very best was like, you better work your ass off 10 times harder because you want to be like the gold medalist next time. So I spent the next 5 years after that training. And I went to the Junior Olympics again. And that time I did win the gold medal, and I was 11 or 12 at the time. So two Junior Olympic medals, 1 gold, 1 silver, so many other medals to speak of. But above all, I would say the sense of determination that being a gymnast gave me at a young age is, I can't even express how much it's done for my life today. I'm so resilient and such a hard worker and so disciplined, and at the same time, like, those are kind of like very hard, like kind of hard sounding adjectives. And on the other side, I'm very graceful and elegant and soft and charismatic and loving and sensitive. And I think that side probably has a lot to do with my career as a ballerina, where you are then touching on a very different side of your emotions and your physicality. You're more so getting in touch with feelings because when I dance, I feel something. And there are songs and certain types of music that particularly make me feel a lot. And you just start to really move through motions, and that's where my kind of softer and more elegant side comes from. And I dance with the Dance Theater of Harlem, starting at the time of 5, and I did both back to back at the same time, simultaneously for all those years. So while I was training as a gymnast, I was also dancing as a ballerina. And I've danced my whole life now. I ended up double majoring in dance, and I dance 3 times a week, sometimes in the studio, sometimes on the street, all the time, everywhere I am. I just start moving. I sing out loud walking down the street as well. You can catch me in the supermarket dancing to whatever they have on the radio. You can find me on the subway, kind of like getting into it a little bit, especially if someone is playing music. Sometimes I just put on my pointe shoes and go dance in open spaces in New York, which is always fun. And other times it's very private and I just want to be alone with my own thoughts. Sometimes I dance to let things go, and sometimes I dance to feel happiness. And I think above all, I just need to be physical. I need to move, I need to feel something, I need to think, I need to let out my emotions through dance or through sports and gymnastics. And I always just want more of those as well.